Om madhuvatarayate madhuksharanti sindhavaha madhuirna santoshadhihi madhunaktamutoshasi madhumatparthivagum rajaha madhudhyorastu nafpita madhumano vanaspatir madhumagum astu suryaha madhuirgavo bhavantu naha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. May the winds bring us happiness. May the rivers carry happiness to us. May the herbs give us happiness. May the night and day yield us happiness. May the dust of the earth bring us happiness. May the heavens give us happiness. May the sun pour down happiness. May the cows yield us happiness. After all, what is really your personal identity? It is what you really are, your real self. None of us is what he thinks he is or what other people think he is. Still less what his passport says he is. And it is fortunate for most of us that we are mistaken. We do not generally know what is good for us. That is because, in Saint Bernard's language, our true personality has been concealed under the disguise of a false self, the ego, whom we tend to worship in the place of God. Thomas Merton. What is your personal identity? In simple words, your real self. What is your real self? Our true personality has been concealed under the disguise of a false self, our ego, whom we tend to worship in place of God. In Romans 12:18, we find the Lord saying, if possible, so far as it depends on us, be at peace with all men. If possible, so far as it depends on us, be at peace with all men. If possible, this is something that we should strive for, a goal you should try to reach. So far as it depends on us, making this our individual responsibility. Be at peace with all men. No matter how hard we try, we cannot change other people. But this verse suggests that we can change ourselves. We can change our approach to others so that we can, so far as it depends on us, be at peace with all men. So it is our responsibility, if possible, it depends on us. It is on us to make a change. It is, after all, a matter of identity, and it depends on us, a matter of effort to change it. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Happy to be here in our Hollywood temple. It's always a nice opportunity to see my brother monks and friends, of course. Today's topic is building your spiritual personality. Let's include all of us, building our spiritual personality. So why do we have to build our spiritual personality? What is that really defines us? Our traits, our innate tendency, our nature. What is our own constitution? What is personality? Is there any perfect personality? Can I transform? Can I change my personality? Think about this. It is a beautiful subject and it's very personal. You should take it personally. Now, we all have somehow connections with these spiritual topics, a sense of connection to something higher, to our idea of ourselves. We all do. Many of us have been searching meaning in our lives. Naturally, the understanding of the word spirituality differs from different religions and different faiths, different people, but it is usually described as finding meaning and purpose in our lives. Spirituality describes a much broader understanding of an individual's connection with the transcendental aspects of life, even with the metaphysical. And we get curious. We want to know more. Little do we imagine, like everything in life, to understand more about this, it requires a deep interest, a deep dedication, a deep commitment, a grand effort. It's not just, oh, that sounds nice. Let's talk about the spirit. It's all about transformation. So we hear or read about samadhi or spiritual illumination, and we go, yes, that's exactly what I want. I want that, Swami. Yeah. How do we get that? We read about the ultimate goal of life. We call it liberation or moksha. And we go, hey, how much is it? What is to lead a spiritual life? What does it take to be truly spiritual? The other day, somebody was sharing with me how he discovered Vedanta in his life, and particularly Ramakrishna Vivekananda Vedanta. He was like, oh, Swami, YouTube. I was just watching videos on meditation, and I was recommended a video on how to attain a spiritual enlightenment in 3 hours. That was great. Let's give it a try. And he's now among us, so it worked. Vedanta, this ancient philosophy of life, is not just about a goal of life, which is definitely very enticing for all, since we all want and love freedom. We want freedom right now. 3 hours, maybe less than that, can I get it? We all love freedom. In fact, whether we know it consciously or unconsciously, we are all looking for that freedom in our lives. But again, if we want to be the fastest runner, we need to focus on the means to achieve the goal. We are not going to turn into the fastest runner if we don't train, if we don't practice, if we don't apply, if we are not focused. what are the means to achieve a spiritual realization? Sometimes we get a little overwhelmed with so many things we have to do in order to feel ourselves spiritual. We follow the instructions of our teacher if we get to have one. Sometimes we are not that lucky, and think that a particular mantra or formula will do it. It will, but it will not. Something else is required. We forget that our inner life should match, should show in our external life, should show in how we behave, in what we say and how we say it, and how we feel it, and how we think it. That is Vedanta in practice. Spiritual life should show and express through our personalities. So now, what is personality? Do I have time? Okay, I need patience from you. This is very interesting. Our personality is what makes us unique individuals. Personality refers to a long-standing traits and patterns that propel individuals to consistently think, feel, and behave in a specific way. At its most basic, personality is the characteristic patterns of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that make a person unique. Clear. It is believed that personality arises from within the individual and remains fairly consistent throughout his life. While there are many different definitions of personality, most focus on the pattern of behaviors and characteristics that can help predict and explain a person's behavior. Each person has an idiosyncratic pattern of enduring, long-term characteristics and a manner in which he or she interacts with other individuals and the world around them. Are you following? Please do. Our personalities are thought to be long-term stable and not easily changed. Sometimes you hear, no, forget about it. I'm an old dog, I can't change it. I can't learn that. The word personality comes from the Latin word persona. In the ancient world, a persona was a mask worn by an actor. While we tend to think of a mask of being worn to conceal one's identity, the theatrical mask was originally used to either represent or project a specific personality trait of a character. People are just different, but there are many similarities that allow people to be grouped in general categories. The study of these differences and their interrelationship is known today as the personalities. Each of us has a basic personality type. Modern science has given time and money to try to understand where our personality comes from. It's not just, let's talk about this. I mean, there are researchers. People spend time and money trying to understand this. Some studies suggest that a shared family environment between siblings has less influence on personality than individual experiences of each child. Recent research indicates that a person's personality is determined before birth, something in the individual genetic makeup. In the identical twins, have similar personalities largely because they share the same genetic makeup rather than their shared environment. Environment, though, plays a role in how that personality is shaped. But the basics are predetermined. Raised by the same family, despite having virtually the same environment as the siblings, going to the same school, to the same church on a Sunday, for example, each child, each sibling has a distinct personality. You can tell you have siblings, even though you are all raised by the same parents, you are all different. You are all behave and react in different ways. In a school environment, we can see siblings of the same family behaving in different ways, even though raised by the same parents. In a study, it was found that some were incessant talkers. Others showed signs of being born leaders, telling others what to do and when to do it. Bossy boys. Others were more quiet and reserved. Others were children, and they were content with any activity given. Content, children. It can be seen that these patterns follow us throughout our lives. They are inborn personality traits. Did you know that personality has been studied for over 2,000 years, beginning with Hippocrates? More than 2,000 years ago, in about 370 BC, during the golden age of the Greek thinkers, learned men sat and philosophized about much of life. Like today, one of the areas that aroused their curiosity was the differing nature of people. Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, theorized that what made people so different are the chemicals in their bodies. And I know this is kind of like, really, are you going to talk about that? Just bear with me. Looks like today, science is proving that he might have been right in many areas than we historically have given him credit for. Hippocrates believed that people could be categorized in 4 basic groupings, and that these chemicals or fluids in their bodies are what give them specific outward manifestations identifying their personality. The Greek words for these are sanguine temperament, choleric temperament, melancholy or melancholic temperament, phlegmatic temperament. All these are related with different fluids in our bodies. The sanguine with the blood and heart, the choleric with the yellow bile in our liver, the melancholic temperament with the black bile from their kidneys, and phlegmatic with the phlegm from the lungs. Centuries later, the influential Greek physician and philosopher Galen built on Hippocrates' theory, suggesting that both diseases and personality differences could be explained by imbalances of the humors that each person exhibits one of the 4 temperaments. For example, the choleric person is passionate, ambitious, and bold. The melancholic person is reserved, anxious, and unhappy. The sanguine person is joyful, eager, and optimistic. And the phlegmatic person is calm, reliable, and thoughtful. This theory, this Galen theory, was, again, prevalent over 1,000 years and continued to be popular through the Middle Ages. Franz Gall, a German physician, proposed that the distances between bumps on the skull reveal a person's personality traits, character, and mental abilities. This was in 1780. In the centuries after Galen, other researchers contributed to the development of his 4 primary temperament types, most prominently Immanuel Kant in the 18th century. Kant agreed with Galen that everyone could be sorted into one of the 4 temperaments, and that there was no overlap between the 4 categories. What are these 4 temperaments and their characteristics? The melancholic is anxious, worried, unhappy, suspicious, serious, thoughtful. The choleric, excitable, egocentric, exhibitionist, impulsive, histrionic, and active. The sanguine, playful, easygoing, sociable, carefree, hopeful, contented. And the phlegmatic, reasonable, principled, controlled, persistent, steadfast, and calm. Now, what about these combinations, these personality combinations? Now, we all of us have a basic personality type, but virtually none of us is 100% any one type. Most of us have a dominant and one secondary personality with a small amount of traits in the other 2 categories, making us each unique individuals. Now, this is to give you some historic background, and I found this very interesting because guess what? Our ancient seers of the truth, our rishis in India, have also expressed these 4 categories in a different way. They have thought about it in a much more deeper way. But before going there, it is also true, you may say, Swami, well, really, I don't really have to go through all that to define my personality. In fact, did you already forget all I said? Hopefully not. Did you pay attention? It is important. But based on what resonates to us, what brings us joy and what makes us feel alive, we can easily figure out what kind of a spiritual personality we are. If we are a type of body person, the way to connect with the spirit is through the body. We like to keep moving. We feel through our physical being, the touch, the movement, the moving meditation, dance, yoga, tai chi. If we are more of a mind type of person, we connect with the spirit through our thoughts, reading, research, study the scriptures. If we are more of a heart type of personality, we are more devotional. Devotionals are committed to living from the heart, bringing love to everyone they meet. They feel the truth in their hearts. If we are more into a karma yogi type of personality, we can be called or categorized under the servant kind of personality. And that can be expressed doing volunteer work, for example. Or the contemplative, they are more introvert. They are overwhelmed by the world. They feel drained by the energy of other people. They are more into meditation, quiet, they are more reflective. Again, none of us can say that we are just one type. We are all a combination of all these. But ideally, we should resonate with all of them and navigate our personality in harmony. Now, what did our ancient scriptures of India need to say about personality? In India, our ancient rishis, wise men or seers of the truth, thought about personality in a much more deeper way. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 4, verse number 13, Lord Krishna explains the diversity of human temperaments and tendencies. All men are not of the same nature because of the preponderance of the different gunas in them. Chaturvarnya maya shrishtam guna karma vibhagashaha tasya kartara pimam vidya kartara mauvyayam chaturvarnyam maya shrishtam guna karma vibhagashaha tasya kartara pimam vidya kartara mauvyayam. The four caste system was created by me by differentiation of guna and karma. By differentiation of guna and karma. Though I am the author thereof, know me to be the non-doer and changeless. Now, the caste system was originally meant to make perfect the growth of humanity by the special culture of certain features through the process of discriminate selection. This is, in a way, a lifestyle by which people can achieve their goals or wants, both material and spiritual. How to live in harmony. A life of contribution and growth, both as an individual and in the society. In the Vedas, we find the Varna Ashrama Dharma concept. Ashrama means the practice of these four stages of life. Many of you may know about this. And Varna, the four system of classes. The growth as an individual and part of the society, they go together. To remind you about these ashramas, we have the study kind of preparation phase in your life that is called brahmacharya. Then the grihasta, the married man, or marriage phase or life, where we achieve all our legitimate goals, you can say. Then the vanaprashta, we turn a little more contemplative. We move into the forest and lead a quiet life, and at last the sannyasa. We renounce not just inwardly, but externally. We give up everything for the sake of the highest. Now, what about this varna, social grouping created by Lord Krishna? This system for the sake of social growth. Krishna, he says in this verse, he makes himself responsible for the creation of this system. This division is the Brahmana, the Kshatriya, the Vaishya, and the Sudra. Now I know for many of you this is a topic where like, okay, Swami, really?
Don't go there.
Don't go there. But yes, let's confront it. Let's go there. Let's talk about this. This is very interesting, and I really want you to pay attention to this. See how naturally things flow in what we call nature in our lives. As an individual and as a society, both working together as a unit, centered in Dharma, this grouping is for the sake of harmony and growth. This should be in perfect balance. The basis of this division can be seen from the standpoint, again, of what we call guna and karma. Now, guna means here personality-based classification, and karma here means occupation or profession-based classification. Now, these can be it is actually universally applicable, regardless of where you were born. It's everywhere, not just in India. We have different types of divisions in different countries. Some examples: we divide the society by the so-called royalty, nobility, wealth, poverty. Other types based on money as well, like upper class, upper middle class, middle class, middle class, and so it goes. In Vedic context, people are divided into groups based on their personality or character. This is called guna, based on the disposition of our mind. And also based on their profession or occupation. Now, the gunas are 3 in number, and I hope you remember what guna is. Most of you may not, and I have to talk about this. So I'm going to take about 5 minutes to remind you what the gunas are. The gunas are called sattva, rajas, and tamas. Now, where do the gunas come from? Vedanta talks about the ultimate reality. We call it Brahman, the God of Vedanta. It's the total Godhead. It can never be defined or expressed. The Upanishads describe Brahman as existence, knowledge, and bliss, absolute, without attributes. Now, Atman cannot be said to exist. Brahman, is existence itself. Brahman is not wise or happy, but absolute knowledge and absolute joy. When Brahman is considered in relation to this universe, he is regarded as the personal God, and we call him Ishvara. Ishvara is God with attributes. He contains all the divine qualities like love, mercy, purity, justice, all created by us. We delegate all these attributes to this so-called God or Ishvara. Brahman, being absolute, is beyond action. Brahman cannot be said to create or to destroy, but Ishvara, though, because we have to explain the creation, Brahman, united with his power, who creates this universe, preserves it, and dissolves it. To say this is not necessarily imply a dualism. Brahman's power can no more be separated from Brahman than the heat of fire can be separated from fire itself. The conception of Ishvara, or their personal God, represents all that the human intellect can know or imagine about God. The power of Brahman is the basis of all mind and matter. It is Prakriti or Maya. The terms are interchangeable. Being absolutely present, Brahman is within all creatures and objects everywhere. Prakriti, or nature, or Maya, is composed of three forces. Not Brahman, but Prakriti. The power of Brahman is composed of these three forces. It's called gunas, constituent elements or components. These are in Sanskrit sattva, rajas, and tamas. The reason why they are called gunas is of their being intertwined like threads, like three strands in a rope, which binds the soul to the world. During the phase of potentiality, these gunas are in a state of perfect equilibrium, and Prakriti remains undifferentiated. Creation is the disturbance of this equilibrium. The gunas are not perceived. They are inferred from the objects of the world, which are their effect. The gunas are finer and subtler than anything that we know of in this world. And yet, according to the Sankhya philosophy, everything in this world is composed of these three gunas. Their existence cannot be directly perceived because of their extreme subtlety. Just as we cannot see electricity, and yet we know its presence by seeing its manifestation in electrical appliances, so also we can know the presence of the gunas indirectly by seeing their various manifestations. Each guna has its own distinctive quality or characteristics. They manifest themselves through objects, different objects in the world, including us. By seeing these characteristics, the presence of the guna can be inferred. The gunas as manifested in the physical world are what we may call equilibrium, activity, and inertness. Tamas is typified as darkness or inactivity. Rajas is activity expressed as attraction or repulsion. And sattva is equilibrium of these two. Again, in the physical world, sattva embodies all that is pure and fine. Rajas embodies the active principle, and tamas the principle of solidity and resistance. In the mind of a man, sattva expresses itself psychologically as tranquility, purity, and calmness. Sattva is light. It is of the nature of pleasure or joy. It has the ability to reveal or make things known, the luminosity of light, the ability of the mind and the senses to know things, the reflecting power of a mirror, and the transparency of a glass and crystals are all due to the presence of sattva guna. If we see happiness, contentment, satisfaction, joy, and bliss in the mind, we should know it is due for the presence of this sattva guna in us. Rajas is passion, restlessness, aggressive activity, reaction in our mind. Rajaguna causes activity, movement, and restlessness. Avarice, hankering, anger, egoism, vanity, the wish to dominate others is also a characteristic of Rajaguna. Tamas is stupidity, laziness, inertia, passivity, sluggishness, heaviness, and negativity shown in our mind or through our mind. It resists activity or movement. It renders the mind incapable of knowing things clearly by making it sluggish. It causes confusion, mental depression, and ignorance. Sometimes one guna is predominant, sometimes another, and man's mood and character vary accordingly. But a man, any one of us, can cultivate one of these gunas by his actions, thoughts, and way of living. The gunas share a common characteristic. They are in perpetual conflict with one another, each one trying to subdue the others in order to become predominant. At the same time, they cooperate with one another. Now, tamas can be overcome by the cultivation of rajas, and rajas by the cultivation of sattva. The ultimate ideal is to transcend sattva also and reach the Atman, which is beyond these three gunas. Sattva guna gives a spiritual liberation. Rajaguna causes bondage through attachment to action. Tamoguna causes confused thinking and senseless violence. Now, let's apply these gunas to our personality. Based on what predominant? We can say what is predominant in us. We can say that an example can be, there are 4 actually combinations. The first combinations can be sattva, rajas, and tamas. That is called guna brahmana. The second combination is rajas, sattva, and tamas. That is guna kshatriya. The third combination is rajas, tamas, and sattva, guna vaishya. And the last one, the fourth one, is guna sudra, tamas, rajas, and sattva. Only 4 compositions are possible. There can be shades of this composition, but only 4 are possible. Can we say that tamas, sattva, and rajas is possible? By definition, we can. We can't say that tamas is supported by sattva. Sattva is light, tamas is darkness. Can we say that another combination could be sattva, tamas, and rajas? Again, by definition, we can't. There are only 4 combinations. And these 4 combinations classify these, what we call the 4 caste system in India. I know, I can see and I can feel it. I'm getting there. So, only 4 compositions are possible. Sattva represents any type of thinking: contemplative, inquiry, silence, peaceful, easy, shanta. Shama, the withdrawal of the mind. And he can easily restrain his sense organs and actions. Raja represents activity. In activity, there is ambition, there is energy, there is enthusiasm. Tamas represent dullness, inactivity, lethargy, laziness. Now, let's talk about the Brahmana classification. Sattva, rajas, and tamas combination. The guna Brahmana is a thinking person, an intellectual, emotionally mature. He expresses tranquility, he's calm. His life is centered in the fundamental values. What about his karma? He's an inquirer, a philosopher, a researcher, a teacher. What about the guna kshatriya? What is the temperament of these rajas, sattva, and tamas? This person is very active. And he also has a thinking personality, very ambitious, but directed towards the welfare of others. Action and enthusiasm are backed up by the power of his thinking. He is unselfish. His actions are for the benefit of the society. What about his occupation? These karma kshatriya are good leaders in the world, provide an infrastructure to the society, taking care of the social needs, administration, law, order, defense. Let's talk about the guna vaishya. The combination is rajas, tamas, and sattva. They are very active, but self-centered. They are selfish. They are ambitious, but without much thinking. There is no consideration for others. The sattva element is engaged in being clever and expressing a sense of manipulation over others, exploitation over others. There is also a certain disrespect for dharma. There is an individual ambition. Such people can become world leaders as well and can put us in trouble. What about his expression in his occupation, this karma vaishya of this combination, rajas, sattva, rajas, tamas, and sattva? His activities are all related to the generation of wealth for the economic growth. It's basically business people. Now let's talk about the Guna Sudra, the personality of a Sudra. The combination is tamas, rajas, and sattva. There is very little thinking, mainly mechanical. They sleep all the time, like a baby. Due to their lack of thinking, they can be easily deceived. There is dullness, unskilled people. There is no ambition. There is no initiative, not even to make money. They are satisfied with the minimum. Their occupation, the Karma Sudra, tamas, rajas, and sattva, all the activities that support and help running the above activities are done by this Karma Sutra type of personality. All unskilled work, which help running the main activities in our society. Now, what if tamas, rajas, and sattva personality, or the Sudra, wants to become a Brahmin, a sattva, rajas, and tama personality? Can we jump over all these? Nature of Prakriti gunas. We need to pass through the following. We need to go step by step. If your personality is that of a Sudra, you need to step forward into the Vaishya. Tamas, rajas, and sattva. Next step, rajas, tamas, and sattva. Next, rajas, sattva, and tamas. And next, and last, sattva, rajas, and tama, which is a Brahmin. Now, I thought the Brahmins were all those who were born in India under a Brahmin caste. We can all be Brahmins. It's up to us to become Brahmins. How do we do that? By the practice of one thing and one thing only. Karma, action. The main and only way to achieve something higher is to remain active. Now, from the Sudra, tamas, rajas, and sattva, to go to the next level, the Guna Vaishya, You achieve that by merely performing karma. If you are asleep, you need to get up and start doing. But from there on, there is something that is very important that we should all include in our shaping of this personality, which is dharma. When it comes to dharma, there are, of course, different shades. If, for example, a Vaishya, a Rajas, Tamas, Sattva personality, can be an ambitious person. He actually is an ambitious person by nature. But he can follow dharma or adharma. If he or she follows dharma, then there is growth. But if they don't follow dharma, they can easily end up in jail. But only when we perform the right action, karma, dharma, with the right attitude, or what we call bhakti, the disposition, the attitude of the karma yoga, it is only possible for a person to move forward and get to the sattva, rajas, tamas kind of personality of that of a Brahmin. Everyone has to work his or his way through these four compositions in order to mature. Superiority is determined by one's own maturity. How is that? Well, we all respect a dharmic person, someone who expresses sattva, full of light, intelligence, clarity. We all admire and naturally honor this personality. We all respect those who follow dharma. We all honor this guna brahmana. And guess what? The practice of Vedanta, spirituality, is all about becoming a guna brahmana. A transformation should occur in our personalities. We must. It's not about, yes, I want liberation. I have to change myself. Understanding what type of combination I am. It doesn't mean that, no, we are all equals. There is no discrimination here. No, but you said that Brahma is better than that. No. It doesn't work like that here. It's what you can express. And you can only express that by the practice of unselfishness. No other way. No matter how much meditation you do, how much japa you make, if you are not unselfish, if you are not able to show this in your life, it is for nothing. We are all called to become Brahmins. Now, this is not just in India. Here, everywhere. This is nature. It's natural in all of us. Gunas are everywhere. Each man and woman is the embodiment of their own nature. They are our composition. We, by the power of our free will, we can turn ourselves into the best personality possible. Now, this perfect personality, the spiritual personality, what do you think it is? It is, after a lot of work, that we are able to show the best of ourselves. A spiritual personality, what we call character. This transformation. We all have a basic personality based on our likes and dislikes, based on our rajas, tamas, sattva, guna combination personality. But our thinking process is centered in our likes and dislikes. And if we analyze that, we can see and perceive where our thoughts are coming from. That is called our swabhava, our constitution. I can say, I feel better with you, I don't like that fella. Those thoughts get nourished, and later they get converted. They come out in the form of words and actions. Swabhava, this composition, this personality that we all are, they express through our thoughts, our words, and our actions. Lao Tzu says, watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. Watch your habits, they become your character. Watch your character, they become your destiny. When a person belonging to any group performs his or her duty with the right attitude, we call it the karma yoga in our language, that person can change his or her guna, his or her personality. This perfect personality knows exactly who or she is. There is no more conflict between what he or she feels about himself or herself. There is no more conflict between what he feels and what he projects. In his life, there is nothing dissonant or dissonant. Everything is in perfect harmony. And that is exactly what we all want. It is important that we transform our personalities without compelling others to change. We have to change ourselves. The refinement of our inner personality. Now, how do we know if we are getting refined? There are certain values that can be expressed in our lives. The first one is compassion. It's called daya in Sanskrit. Empathy. The second one is peaceful. There is no violence. Expresses peace. The third one is absence of jealousy. The next is having purity of thought, shaucham, in word, thought, and deed. The next is a calm disposition. The next is freedom from self-pity. He or she never says, I am miserable. Low self-image. There is no self-image here. There is freedom of self-pity. There is freedom of greed and attachment. And at last, this personality shows auspiciousness. People feel good around him. He has a charismatic, attractive personality. After all, what is your personal identity? Again, continuing with the Bhagavad Gita, I don't think I have much time, so I have to wrap it up. The Lord says, actions do not taint me. Listen, actions do not taint me. Because he's fully identified with Brahman. Nor have I any thirst for the results of action. He who knows me thus is not fettered by action. In the Lord, there is neither longing nor craving for the results. He says, actions do not affect me. There is only one Atman who happens to be Ishvara, the Lord, God, the personal God, himself. Atman is in all of us. By now, you should all know Hmm? The truth of the Vedanta philosophy. The Lord, what we call God, is in all of us. The seeming difference is due to our identification with the wrong, with our ego. A person who knows Atman is neither the doer nor the enjoyer. He knows the Lord. In this particular verse, we see the identity of what we call Ishvara, with the jiva, the incarnated soul. When I use the word I, there are two aspects so well entwined as though milk and water. This is a mixture of matter and spirit. Consciousness and matter put together is what we are, the incarnated beings. Now, if I am a mixture of both, which one should I claim to be my real I? And this is up to us too. As I said in the beginning, it is on us. It is our choice. And it's a matter of identity. Who do I choose to identify myself with? Now, this identity must be understood, and is indeed a high standard. But one thing is sure for all of us: to accept our true identity with the Lord and let Him work through us. Let Him be. Don't interfere. After all, what is your personal identity? It is what you really are. Your real self, says this mystic, Thomas Merton. Our true personality has been concealed under the disguise of a false self, which is our ego, whom we tend to worship in the place of God. Let us all struggle in our life to experience that unity by the understanding of our basic personality, natural personality, where we find ourselves at, and by the power of our will, let us become the perfect character, that one with God. Thank you. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, may that outer world is Purna, full of divine consciousness. This inner world is also Purna, full of divine consciousness. From Purna comes Purna. From the fullness of divine consciousness, the world is manifested. Taking Purna from Purna, Purna indeed remains, because divine consciousness is non-dual and infinite. Om, peace, peace, peace. So we don't have the schedule for next Sunday?
We're going to be sharing this room. Who speaks next Sunday? Swami Dhyanayogananda.
Next Sunday, our next speaker for next Sunday will be, again, you will be able to find him on our website.
It's Swami Arupeshananda.
The speaker is Swami Arupeshananda, and
his topic is a prayerful attitude.
A prayerful attitude.
Swami Arupeshananda stays at our Pinion Hills location, so we look forward to having him here with us in Hollywood.
Absolutely.
We're very glad to have Swami Dhyanayogananda from our Trabuco Monastery visit us in Hollywood and share his wisdom and his thoughts with all of us. And thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for coming. Jai Ma.
Jai Ma, Jai Ma.